Today we are diving into one of the most epic stories ever told. Not about kings or empires, but about how a simple green slime conquered an entire planet. This isn't just biology, this is a saga of terraforming, of innovation, of a great green conquest millions of years in the making.
So you really have to ask yourself this question. Before the jungles, before the prairies, before a single flower ever bloomed, Earth was just rock, a barren, empty world. So how did life make that incredible leap out of the oceans and paint our world green? Well, that's the very mystery we're going to unravel today.
So let's start at the very beginning, our story's prologue, the first breath. Because you see, before any plant could even think about setting foot on land, it first had to change the very air we breathe.
50%. Just let that number sink in. At a bare minimum, 50% of all the carbon dioxide being scrubbed from our atmosphere is done by algae. These little guys were the original world builders, the first terraformers. They spent millions of years just pumping oxygen into the sky, creating a breathable world from the water up. Okay, so the air is breathable, the stage is officially set for the next great leap. And that brings us to Act 1, Life Aquatic and the first step ashore. This is where we meet our main characters, the algae still in the water, and the first brave pioneers to crawl onto land, the mosses.
Now, to really get this leap, you have to understand what these early plants even looked like. They had what we call a thalloid body. Think of it as a plant blueprint before any of the details are filled in. There are no true roots, no stems, no leaves. It's just a simple body, kind of like a leaf of seaweed, that's perfectly designed to soak up everything it needs right from the water around it.
And you can see that first tentative step happening right here. On the one hand, you have the algae, just happily floating, anchored by a little holdfast. But then, look at the bryophytes, the mosses. They're trying. They've got these little root-like things called rhizoids and some structures that are kind of like stems and leaves. But, and this is the key, they are still completely changed to their watery past. This is why botanists have such a perfect nickname for them. We call them the amphibians of the plant kingdom. And it makes total sense, right? Like a frog, they can live on the land, but for the most important part of their life, reproduction, they have to go back to the water. Their little sperm cells literally have to swim through a film of water to find an egg. No water, no baby mosses.
But don't you dare underestimate these little amphibians. Mosses are absolute ecological giants. They are true pioneer species. They're the first ones to show up on bare, barren rock, and they immediately get to work, chemically breaking it down to create the very first bits of soil. This is the foundation that all other land plants would eventually build on. They're the construction crew for all future ecosystems.
So, plants have a foothold on land. Great. But to truly conquer it, to grow tall, to move away from the puddles and streams, they needed a revolution, an internal one.
So, plants have a foothold on land. Great. But to truly conquer it, to grow tall, to move away from the puddles and streams, they needed a revolution, an internal one. And that takes us to Act 2, building the blueprint.
This right here was the game changer. Internal plumbing. Officially, it's called vascular tissue, and the ferns, or Pteridophytes, were the ones who invented it. It's basically two sets of pipes, xylem to pull water up from the ground, and phloem to send food down from the leaves. All of a sudden, you could have true roots, strong stems, and big leaves. For the very first time, plants could grow up. And getting taller also came with a really profound shift in their whole life strategy. Now, stay with me here. In mosses, the green leafy thing you actually see is called the gametophyte. Its job is making gametes, sperm and eggs. But in ferns, that big leafy plant we all recognize, that's the sporophyte. Its job is to make spores. The dominant, visible part of the plant completely changed, shifting the focus to a bigger, more robust body.
And within this group of ferns, we start to see a little hint, a little foreshadowing of the next great leap.
some of them started doing something new. Instead of just flinging their spores to the wind, they held on to the female parts and the developing embryo right there on the parent plant. This is the very beginning of the seed habit. It's like they're deciding to protect and feed their young before sending them out into the world. Which brings us to the grand finale of our story, Act 3, the Seed Revolution. This is it. This is the moment plants figured out how to cut the final cord to water by creating a perfect, self-contained little life pod that would let them dominate almost every dry corner of this planet.
So let's just recap the journey up the ladder. Step 1. Mosses make the leap to land, but they're still stuck by the water's edge. Step 2. Ferns build internal plumbing, allowing them to grow tall and strong, which leads us to the final step. Step 3. The gymnosperms invent the seed, and finally, break free.
Gymnosperm. The name literally means naked seed, and that is the absolute key. A seed isn't just a spore. Oh no, it's a full-on survival kit. You've got the embryo, the baby plant, a packed lunch of nutrients, and a tough protective coat. And in gymnosperms, these seeds just develop out in the open, usually on the scales of a cone. And they didn't just stop with the seed. They went all in on this new dry land lifestyle. They developed pollen grains that could ride the wind instead of swimming sperm. They got tough, needle-like leaves with a waxy coating to reduce water loss. They even hid their little breathing pores in sunken pits. Every single one of these adaptations was designed for one thing: survive away from water.
And just like that, the conquest was basically complete. From a simple aquatic slime to towering pine trees, plants had built the world we know. The epilogue to their story is the world we live in. Our world, their legacy.
This chart right here, this is the whole story in one shot. You can just follow the progression from left to right. We go from a simple thallus to true roots, stems, and leaves. We go from no vascular tissue to, yes, we have plumbing. You can see the dominant generation switch from the gametophyte to the sporophyte. But the real headline is that bottom row. Look at water needed for reproduction. It goes from yes, 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 to a resounding no. That's freedom. That's conquest.
But of course, the story never really ends, does it? The gymnosperms set the stage for one last, spectacular, game-changing innovation: the angiosperms, or flowering plants. They took that naked seed, enclosed it in a protective ovary that becomes a fruit, and developed the flower, an invention that let them partner up with animals, creating an explosion of diversity that's still going on today. But that's a story for another time.
So we end up right back where we started, with the undeniable power of plants to shape our world. They did it once, completely transforming our atmosphere and our lands. And now, as our planet faces a whole new era of change, it leaves you with a pretty big question. What will be the next act in this great green conquest?